The truck driver returned home with a small, unexpected guest. The wife, seeing her, was speechless. But let's see what happened sometime before. In the meantime, let me invite you to join the channel by subscribing and activating the bell so as not to miss other exciting stories. For 8 years, she and her husband had lived together without being able to conceive a child. She feared that he would leave her to start a new family, but Bill remained by her side, demonstrating loyalty and love. Often, Sarah would shed tears of happiness, grateful for her husband's constant support. They had thought about adoption, but were never completely sure. One day, while Sarah was returning from work, she noticed some children bothering one of their peers in the courtyard. She immediately ran towards them and saw a 5-year-old girl on the ground, trying to protect herself. "What are you doing, you disgusting brats? I'll kick you," Sarah shouted. The children dispersed, while the little girl remained on the ground, trying to dry her tears with her dirty fists. Sarah helped her get up, dusted off her worn dress. "Why do they treat you so badly? What happened?" "I don't know, I just wanted to play on the swing. As soon as they saw me there, they told me I was dirty and tried to kick me out," the little girl replied. "Don't worry, I'll take care of them shortly," Sarah assured her, leaning closer. "What's your name, baby?" "My name is Julie," sobbed the little girl. "And your mother, what's her name?" Sarah continued. "I don't have a mother. I live with my grandmother, who is very old. I see little of my father, however. He never comes to visit me," the little girl said as she burst into tears. "Don't worry, Julie, does it hurt here?" Sarah asked, noticing the abrasions on her knees and a bruise on her cheek. "No, but Grandma gets angry because I ruined the dress and tore it. I don't have any others," said Julie. "Don't worry, come with me. Let's go to a shop nearby. We'll buy some clothes and then I'll take you to your grandmother." Meanwhile, Bill was traveling for work, so Sarah was able to dedicate herself to the little girl, treating her with care and affection. They brought the new clothes to Julie's grandmother, an elderly lady with a stern look. "Who is this?" she asked, looking at Julie from the door. "This is Mrs. Sarah. She was very kind to me. She defended me from bullies, bought me clothes, and gave me food," explained Julie the little girl. "What do you want from her?" asked the grandmother abruptly, turning to Sarah. "In this city, she has no one except me. I'll take care of her." "Then why don't you take care of it properly?" Sarah asked. "Her father, he is my nephew, left her to me saying that it would be a temporary thing, but in the meantime, it has already been 2 months and he hasn't been seen. Gone." "Okay, but why do you let her go out alone then?" Sarah asked. The old woman got excited. "She's always hungry, you understand? Do you want to tell me how I can take care of her? She was kind, good, but now go away. I don't want to see her anymore." Sarah, indignant, replied, "I will complain to the authorities." "You can complain all you want. I'll be happy if they take her away. I have my own things to do," the woman replied. Sarah whispered to Julie that she would wait for her the next day in the courtyard, and from that moment, for the following 2 months, they met every day. Sarah took care of her, but she had never confessed to Bill how dear that little girl was to her. So one day she armed herself with courage and decided to tell her husband, and he just shook his head. "She's not an orphan. She has a father and a grandmother." "Bill, it hurts me so much. What kind of father is he, who leaves her with a distant relative and then disappears? You can't treat children like that, especially if they don't have a mother. She's so lonely, and her grandmother is so irascible," Sarah said. "Please let us bring her to us. You will like her, I'm sure," Sarah continued. "But dear, we can't adopt her," sighed Bill. "Why are you torturing yourself like this?" "I've grown fond of her," Sarah confided. Bill decided to give weight to Sarah's request, so the next day, they decided to meet Julie together. But the little girl didn't show up. It was a harbinger of something serious. Sarah immediately ran to Julie's house, and the lady welcomed her again with total disapproval. "What do you still want? Julie isn't here. Her father finally came to get her this morning." Sarah was devastated. She cried for days and couldn't get that little girl out of her mind. But sometimes, destiny seems written by wise and loving hands, which weave threads of happiness in the most unexpected moments. Now comes the most exciting moment of this story. Your like would be appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Several months passed before Bill, returning from a business trip, decided to stop in a rest area along the road home for a meal and a cup of hot tea. It was then that he noticed a little girl leaning against the glass of the room, carefully looking inside. He initially thought she was looking for her parents, but quickly realized she was just hungry, staring longingly at the food. He called the girl, who immediately entered the bar. She was thin, dressed in an old coat that probably didn't warm her enough, and wore shoes that were too big and worn. "Are you very hungry, little one? Eat whatever you want." And so Bill took the opportunity to pay the meal and asked the waitress something more about the little girl. Julie had a father who often got drunk. He worked in a tire shop nearby, then he disappeared. The ex-partner immediately kicked Julie out of the house. She didn't care about her. "We have already reported the situation. She will be taken away soon." Bill asked for the address where the little girl lived. So once the meal was finished, he took Julie by the hand and took her with him. It took Bill a few moments to realize what to do. He was determined and didn't have the slightest doubt. He and the little girl arrived at that house and knocked on the door. A woman opened a window and shouted, "Go away! She's not my daughter!" Bill, with a decisive tone and without wasting time in small talk, said, "My name is Bill. This is my address, and this is my telephone number. Give it to the authorities in case they are looking for Julie." The woman barely nodded her head as if to say, "Okay, I'll do it." "The poor little girl has suffered enough. You should be ashamed too," he thought, as he headed towards his truck. Sarah saw Bill enter and didn't believe her eyes. She stopped suddenly, placing a palm on her lips, holding back a scream. "Julie, my darling!" she shouted, running towards the little girl. Julie released Bill's hand and ran towards her, instinctively saying, "Mum, Mum." Destiny and their strong desire to one day have a child had somehow come to fruition. Do you think it could be called destiny, law of attraction, or is this story a testimony of pure coincidence?